Welcome, listeners. I am Sony the Connectaholic, and you are listening to the Threads in Truth podcast. The focus of this podcast is to stitch together cultural legacies. Today's threads, you will follow me as I connect and expand cultural and historical legacies for stronger communities. The eye of the needle for this episode is a situation that was difficult for my guest to see why this happened. For him, it was an initial sense of abandonment, but it ultimately led to a blessed reunion. All right, listeners, it is time to stitch it up. I want to welcome someone who is near and dear to my heart, just happens to be my cousin, Barry Johnson. Barry has an amazing story. And actually, when I learned of his story, I wrote a little segment of it for Reunions magazine. It was published in November of 2020, and then again at the digital launch in February 2021 during the Roots to Connect conference. I have a family. I have a family. For 30 years, Barry Johnson has been searching for clues to help him solve a mystery he has often wondered about regarding his family. Later in life, he learned that the mother he knew was not his birth mother. The story began to unfold where it was finally shared that his birth mother left him with a friend and neighbor soon after being discharged from the hospital, never to be seen again. The neighbor became the only mom he ever knew. And while he adored and appreciated her sacrifice, the sting of abandonment by his mother left Barry with the void of knowing his biological family hung over him like a rain cloud. Barry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, cousin. Thank you so much for agreeing to not only let me tell your story through print, but now to be able to give a voice to your story. But tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Well, first of all, thank you for, I'm blessed for having the opportunity to be on the podcast. I guess everyone in the world knows I'm a diehard Cowboy fan.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Diehard Cowboy fan.
You got to respect his star.
Right. But I guess something that people don't know, and it's not common. I mean, it is common, but I'm a father of 14 children. I have 13 girls and one boy, 10 grandchildren, 11 grandchildren and one great grandchild.
All right. All right. Adding leaves to our family tree. So let's get into how I opened. In your words, what does found my family? I have a family mean to you?
What it means to me is I'm going to reverse that a little bit. Yes, I have a family, but my family found me.
Okay.
After 30 years, 35 years of searching to fill that void, went on Ancestry, took the DNA, and never even looked at it again. Then 2 months later, I looked at it and I received, if it was handwritten, it'd have been a 3-page letter from you. And sitting in that car when I called you, emotions just came over me.
Right. Same here.
Emotions just overwhelmed me because my search was over.
Mm.
My search was over. So what does it mean to me? I have a family. It filled a void for years to know that biological bloodline, I'm wanted. I'm accepted.
Right. Right.
That's what it means to me.
Right. And indeed you are. You came in like a force. There's nothing that we can't ask Barry to do. And he is right there, Johnny on the spot, participating. And I guess that's just the joy that you feel inside of having that connection with the family who's welcomed you with open arms.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. For years, I've had family that lived 19 miles away from me, would not recognize me, would not talk to me. But then when my family found me, I get texts every day. I get calls every day. You know, I'm wanted. Right. I feel like I'm a part of a family that really loves instead of being a part of a family that don't.
Right. Oh, wow. That perfect segue into our next question. 19 miles away, and you don't hear from them, but you have family from where you are all the way up and down the eastern seaboard as far as Massachusetts, and we're connecting. So we've all had to face a major decision in our lives and stood at that fork in the road. You know, you're staring at those arrows. Do I go left or do I go right? And we're standing there just pondering and trying to make that tough decision. Can you describe your fork in the road moment when it came to finding your biological family?
Well, in 1971, when we moved from Newark, New Jersey to Chester, South Carolina, the first thing that was told to me is, you know, she's not your real mother. And this is coming from my grandmother. I'm 11 years old. You don't tell a kid that. You don't. And everybody in the family, you know, corroborated what she said. So as I got older, I was noticing the disconnect between us. And I said, you know, I've got to find, I love this woman that raised me. I love her to death, but there's something missing inside of me. There's a part of me that's missing. So I started my search. I had to decide whether just to leave it alone or start my search. And at that moment, started my search.
That's right. That was your fork in the road. Okay. Yes. And while you were decided, okay, I'm going to go right. I'm going to, here I am at the fork in the road and I'm going to go right. Was there a time when things didn't go as planned?
All the time. All the time. Because I kept running into roadblocks. I was looking for my birth certificate. Couldn't find it. Still can't find it. Just searching. I was looking through records after records after records because I was told several times I was born in the Bronx, I was born in Manhattan, I was born here, I was born there. No records. But my only memory that I have was Newark, New Jersey. So that's what I take it where I was born, Newark, New Jersey. So yeah, all the time I ran into roadblocks, but it didn't stop.
That's right. Shout out to Brick City, by the way. Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. Yes. And we are just so grateful that you had that fire inside of you to continue your search for us. So can you walk us through the experience of meeting your biological family after the ancestry message?
It was an experience like no other. I mean, compared to the accomplishments that I've made, you know, I've been a conference champion in basketball, you know, and different things. Meeting my biological family for the first time is when I was in Virginia Beach, and you and Marcel and your family showed, met us there. That experience was, I cried when I saw you. Right. And I knew before you walked in the door, that was family, because I felt the love coming from outdoors.
Right.
I felt it.
And I knew something about those connections and vibrations when you know what you know that you know. Yes. Yes.
And I cried like a baby. I ain't gonna, don't get me wrong. I cried like a newborn baby.
Same. Same. I was so excited on that ride down there. Marcel and I couldn't get down there fast enough. Yes, we were just excited, and I was like, okay, I've seen one picture, but I wonder what he looks like. I'm going to look for him. And then I saw you, and I said, wait a minute. He looks like Craig. One of my first cousins. I said, he looks, and Marcel said the same thing. He said, yes, he looks just like Craig. And I said, this is a Miller man. Can't nobody tell me any different. He is a Miller man.
You sent me that picture of my uncle. My daughter took a look at it and got scared. I said, what's wrong with you? She said, that's your twin.
Yes, indeed. So while you've had those gracious experiences, even though, I know it can be difficult sometimes for you to still process, and you might have to pinch yourself every now and again to say, is this real? Is this real? Am I really sitting in this space right now? So what is your biggest struggle right now regarding your newfound connection to the A.G. Miller Mayo Dungy family?
My biggest struggle right now is when I find out who my father was, and I look at his picture every day. It's not nobody that I don't look at his picture. My biggest struggle right now is knowing that I have two siblings out there, I don't know whether they're alive or not. But my biggest struggle is being accepted by them. That's my biggest struggle. Mm-hmm. Everything else is solidified. It's just that.
Right. And that's understandable. We have been trying to search for them as well. Even prior to our connection with you, we have been searching for them as well. So, and we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop searching for them. They could be listening to this, or someone who knows them could be listening to. You've been on this quest for over 30 years to find the truth. So what is it that what would you say that you've learned from this quest?
One thing that I've learned is something that my mother taught me a long time ago. And it was a saying. I didn't understand that saying at that time. Mm-hmm. But the saying was, never give up. Give out. When you give out and you feel as though you have done everything you could do, get back up, shake the dust off, and keep going. Because your journey is not over at that time. You think it's over, but it's not. There's one more piece that you will find. And I took that when I started this journey to find my family. I gave up I gave up several times, but I never gave it. Well, I gave out, but I never gave up. And when at the very moment when I said, you know what, I give up, I would never find my family. I looked back and I saw that letter from you.
Right.
And that let me know, don't give up, give out.
Right. Right.
Your body's going to give out, but never give up, because you will find what you're looking for.
Very profound words. Wisdom. We have to appreciate the wisdom of our elders. I can't say enough that I'm so glad that you didn't give up, because then, because I am a stalker. I am an ancestral stalker, whether they're living or their souls are ascended above. I'm going to find you. I'm going to find a connection and figure it out. So now we just need to find Gwendolyn Miller and James Miller Jr. We need to find them, hit Barry's siblings. The last we heard was that they may be in the Midwest area somewhere. Arizona. Okay, so if anyone in Arizona is listening and you know a Gwendolyn Miller, we don't know if she has a married name now, or James E. Miller Jr., please have him reach out to one of us, and we will have our information at the end of this podcast. Barry, we've covered right much here and with your story, and I think that and I've told you before that in our initial conversation, you're not alone in this, where you thought that I may be the only one in the world. And as you're walking through situations, we sometimes feel like we're the only one in the world experiencing this. But then there's a way that you connect to other people and you'll say, oh my God, they have the same experience that I do. So one of the purposes why I wanted to have you on as the first guest on Threads and Truth is because not only did we just come off of, the prints from the Reunions magazine, and hopefully your story has touched someone through print. And apparently it did, for the editor to reach out and request the video from our family reunion in Delaware in 2019, where you were giving your speech about having a family and how you felt. And ladies and gents, there was not a dry eye in the room. And we can tell you that for sure. Now that you have had this experience, you know that you're a Miller man. You know that you have all of these cousins that you're connected with, be it on social media. In our family page, we now have 475 cousins in our page. And having pulled and stitched all of these threads together, what garment of truth have we created here on this episode?
Garment of truth? It goes back again to that saying, never give up. Never give up. Because you can give up and walk outside your door or outside your business, wherever you work at, and that very next person you talk to could be your relative.
Absolutely.
You never give up.
That's right.
You put everything in God's hand, and God will lead you in the way. He would direct you to your family. You just have to open your eyes, accept his direction, and say, Father, if this is where you want me to go, I'm going. Because there's been plenty of times I could have gave up, but I kept hearing something in my ear. Not yet, not yet, not yet. And that not yet turned in, I told you so.
Yes, not yet turned into I told you so. Oh, I love that. I love that. So I say that we have stitched together a cloak of self-discovery and wholeness.
No doubt.
Yes. So I think that your number one takeaway that you want your listeners to absorb, you've said it multiple times. Never give up. Never give up. When you feel like you are down in the ground and beaten down in the dirt, You just get up, brush your shoulders off, and keep moving. And keep moving. Barry, as always, it has been a pleasure having a conversation with you. Well, I'll say us, myself, and the listeners. Usually I'm very selfish with our time. But I have to share you a little bit now. So, yes, this has been a pleasure. I am just honored that you accepted the invite to be the first guest, podcast Threads and Truth. And we are just going to continue connecting and continue trying to find our family. That is the focus for this month. Because given the state of the world with the pandemic and everything else that's just going on in the world, we just have to value and appreciate family and the connections that are made. And they don't have to be connections that you've known all of your life or within the past, 20 years even. These brand new connections can be just as fulfilling as the family, that you grew up with. So again, I thank you. I thank you. And how can our listeners contact you? If this story resonates with anyone and you just want to talk to someone about the experience and share your experience and see if Barry can help talk you through your experience, how can our listeners contact you? Reach out through email?
They can contact me through email at barry.johnson200155@yahoo.com.
All right, B, say that one more time.
All right, that's Barry, BARRY .Johnson200155@yahoo.com.
All right. Well, thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on this episode of Threads and Truth. Next week, we will have another special guest where we will talk about familial connections. For information found in this episode, if you have questions or would like to be featured on Threads and Truth, send me a note at threadsandtruth@gmail.com. You bring the needle, I have the threads. Until next time, this is Sony the Connectaholic.